Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right. We're going to do this. Evidently, I have to do something with my computer. I don't know why it did not work, but this is recording and we are ready to share about Project 365, which is a project that brings hope and encouragement and inspiration to the public every day. The year that we had last year, everyone needs some type of hope. They need a word of inspiration and something that's going to uplift their spirit. So I've embraced the assignment that's been given to me to bring hope, encouragement, and inspiration. My name is Portia Wheatley. I am the founder of Hope. What am I the founder of? I mean, the founder of Trophy of Life. I said I am the founder and president of Trophy of Life Incorporated. We are the action of hope and encouragement. And it gives me great pleasure to embrace this project, Project 365. I want to bring in my my co-host, Takira Swine. Say hi, Takira.
Hello. Hey, hey.
Yes, yes, yes. God has put us together and we're going to make this happen. Today, I want to share the platform with Mr. Randall Ainsworth. I tell you, I look at the life of this young man, being a young man, being a black man, being an educated man, a talented man, intelligent man, smart. I tell you, strong in his faith, and it's just well rounded. He's just a well rounded young man, and I'm so glad his schedule is crazy, and I'm so glad he actually took the time out of his schedule to come on and share part of his life story. And we're going to ask you if you would, the good, the bad, the ugly, the whatever you want to share, but end it with a good note on hope, encouragement, and inspiration. You got it, Randall. Thank you so much.
All right. So thank you for having me. So I'm Randall Ainsworth. I guess for what I'm doing right now, so I'm in law school. I'm at Maryland on a full scholarship. Um, and I was asked to kind of just come on and talk about my life. So I'm young, 22. Hope I look like it. uh, well, I growing up, I faced a lot of adversity and a lot of rejection. Uh, I was raised by my mom, and she raised me by herself. She was a single parent. And at a young age, the first rejection that I experienced was from my own father. Um, Around the time when I was 7 or 8 years old, he stopped really coming around. And I had a lot of negative experiences with him. He would sometimes he would insult me, because I wore glasses at the time, and he'd say my glasses look crazy and I should take them off. Sometimes he'd ask me if I was a homosexual, and I grew to resent my father. Um, at one point, I was damaged mentally and emotionally because I couldn't be in a conversation where people talked about fathers and fatherhood without getting upset. Um, and it took me having to kind of reflect in order to learn from those experiences. Um, when I was in middle school, uh, I was walking home from school one day, and some kids in the neighborhood had lit a pile of leaves on fire. and the police came. But when I saw the police cars coming, I decided to walk towards them. You know, the police are there to serve, protect. And the officer approached me, and the first thing he asked me was if I had done it. And
Wow.
I told him no. You know, officer, I'm just walking home from school. And I told him, you know, the people you're looking for went that way. You know, you can find them over there. I'm just trying to go home. And the officer told me that I was lying. He said that he could arrest me for perjuring to a cop. And he asked me if I was intelligent. And, you know, I told him I was about 13, 14 at the time. And I told him, yeah, I mean, I do well in school. You know, I get A's. I consider myself at least competent, you know. And he told me that that was a lie, and that the next time someone asked me if I was intelligent, to tell them no. Uh,
Wow.
Mm.
and that that made me angry, but it also inspired me. Um, I knew at that point that I wanted to get in a position where I could hold people accountable, and to make changes. And I saw the law as a way to do that. Um, so I think that was my first real experience with I guess you could say racism. I don't want to accuse the officer of being,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I don't know his heart or his story. But that inspired me to, you know, kind of push and to be exceptional, not just good enough, but twice as good as the people around you. Um, but I also had other experiences that kind of balanced out that experience. When I was young, my uncle was killed, and I was in the hospital, and I basically saw him die. And at that point, I realized that there has to be a balance, because, you know, there's a lack of accountability within the law, but there's also a lack of accountability within our own people when we're
Mm-hmm.
harming each other. And I I want to use my life and my career to kind of help strike that balance, where you get to the root cause of some of these problems. So in high school, I created a mentoring program. I called it Brother to Brother.
You
And
created it?
yes,
All right.
what I did was I took all of the quote unquote bad kids from the school. I went to Towson High. It's a school in Towson, predominantly white school. And I took, you know, football players, people in the law and public policy program, musicians, and I brought us all together to help each other. And the kids in that program, working with them actually changed me as a person, because, you know, a lot of them came from the city, and they had much worse circumstances than I did. You know, they didn't just come from single parent homes. Some of them, like, their parents were on drugs. One guy's mother was killed by the police, when he was like 6 years old, in front of him. Some of the guys would go and sell drugs in the morning and then come to school. So they'd sell the drugs, drop the money off to their parents, and then come to school. And uh, I realized that one of the best ways to kind of overcome that adversity is to find other people and to work together to lift yourselves up.
Yeah.
Um, our motto was, you know, once you've been restored, to go back and restore your brother.
Yes.
And we decided to do it through, you know, community service, brotherhood, and leadership. You know, um, in that experience, it was difficult but rewarding. I had to kind of run the program myself without much help from the administration.
Mhm.
There was a social worker that was there who, kind of helped uh, with the program. Um, but the program was also important because it showed me that even if you're doing the right thing, there will still be pushback. So I remember um, we had designed, I had created, it was like a volunteering opportunity where we went to Holly Hill Nursing Home in Towson. And at the time, we couldn't get a bus to actually go and do the trip. So we decided that we were going to walk.
Uh-huh.
And we got some parents to donate, some seeds and tools and that sort of thing. And we got the cafeteria ladies to go and like make us lunches, and we walked about 3 miles to a nursing home, and we planted a garden there, and we played games with the folks that were there. But on the way back, we were walking down York Road, and we went to a Royal Farms. The Royal Farms is right on York Road, and we went in as a group, and we were told to leave. And I was confused because that's a store where most people go. A lot of times the lacrosse teams would go there, the soccer teams would go there, and we had like our school badges. We had a social worker from the school who was
Mhm.
there. So it was a school event, but we were kicked out. Um, and then I was told that we could only go in groups of two, you know. Um, so while we were, shopping for our food, the police came and they asked us, what we were doing, why we were there, basically what were our intentions. And then I realized that, the difference between our group and the lacrosse teams or the soccer team
Ah. Mm-hmm.
was the way we looked. We were a group of black men, about 30 of us, going into a store. Um, and the hardest thing for me was to de escalate the situation, to look at the guys who were depending on me and to explain to them, you did nothing wrong, but this is the situation, right? Um, and nothing bad really came out of it. But that was a massive learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You
do
know,
you was that recent in
so this was
recent years?
yeah, this was about 3, 4 years ago.
Wow,
Uh,
that's recent. Yes.
but the interesting thing was that an article was written about it, and actually, that same Rural Farm store ended up funding some of the other projects
Oh.
and ventures that we did. Um, but that experience was important because it also showed that a lot of times what could be a bad situation is a lack of understanding.
Mhm.
They didn't know why we were there, and while it wasn't fair and it wasn't right, sometimes it takes having the strength and the wisdom to step outside of how you're feeling and step outside
Mhm.
of the circumstance and to do what's best for the situation, and then to fight later to correct it. You don't want to make your situation worse while you're in the midst of it. Uh,
What would you like to, well, you're so right about that. Absolutely. Don't want to make it any worse than what it is. And that's what a lot of the young people do. When I can't say young people, people in general, because adults do it as well. So, what would be your, say, for instance, now let me set this platform. You are the only one on the platform, and there are hundreds of young men listening to you. What would you have to say to them to encourage them out of an experience that you may have gone through?
well, I would say for one, to um, when you're going through your experiences, to see them as training, right? So when you look at the Marines, they're the best force. My uncle was a Marine. Sorry for
Ah.
um, but they go through the hardest training. Um, but they're the best fighting force. And when I look back at some of the experiences that I've had, I realize that I've had to overcome a lot of adversity,
Mm-hmm.
but that adversity made me who I am. If I didn't have to go through what I went through, I wouldn't know how to handle the situations that I'm in now. And it's hard to step outside of yourself and to think about the future, you know. Um, like it was so an experience that was the most difficult for me in my entire life. My dad wasn't really in my life, but when I graduated from high school, he got sick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he had another family. And the woman that he was living with uh, dropped him off at the hospital, called me, and then never looked back. So I had to step in and be the family for my father and to speak for him and to advocate for him. And I didn't want to do it. I really didn't. My father had a stroke and it paralyzed him from the left side of his body on down. And when I heard the news, I was still angry at him.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me wanted to leave him there to die, honestly. Um, but um, I went to the hospital, and when I got there, it wasn't pleasant. He cussed me out. He told me to leave. Um, he told me that he would get the hospital staff to arrest me because I was harassing him. And in that moment, I wanted to cuss him out. I wanted to hurt him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to walk away from the situation. Um, but I prayed about it, and I know the Bible says that you're supposed to forgive, and you're still supposed to honor your parents. Um, and I realized that a lot of why I was upset had more to do with me and what I could control than it had to do with my father. And that's not to excuse him. That's not to say that, he couldn't have done better, but I got to the point where I realized that people are going to be whoever they are,
Yes.
but it's your responsibility to still be who you are in spite of that. Um, so I personally believe that we should all be more reflective. I'm actually a fan of therapy. I
Mm-hmm.
had to go to therapy and get that help in order to process, um, what was going on. But it helped me get to the point where I realized that in order for me to be a man, in order for me to be a godly man, that it ended up being my responsibility to mend the relationship. I didn't ask for the situation, but for my own sanity and for my own mental health and for me to not hurt people because I was hurt, I had to be the one to reach out and extend the olive branch. And now I have a much better relationship with my father. I go and see him when I can. I tell him about what's going on, and through that experience, I learned that a lot of the stuff that he would do came from his own experiences. But if I didn't take the time to forgive and didn't take the time to pray and didn't take the time to examine myself, the cycles of pain and hurt and regret, it would have went from my father's father to my father to me to eventually my own children when I have them. So it's difficult to break those cycles, but I believe that especially as men, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to break those cycles.
Wow, that's good. That is really good. And I just pray that what you're sharing and sharing from your heart and sharing from your experience, it definitely will help a lot of other Black men, not just Black men, just men in general, young men, sons, that it would definitely help them, because I think a lot of them hold their emotions inside and don't talk about it, and um, it causes them to act out in a way that is not good, causes them to act out in a way that may land them in prison. But thank you for sharing that. And one more thing, what are you pursuing now educationally? What are you pursuing? I know you are some kind of busy, but thank you again for taking this time to share.
So I'm in law school, going to be an attorney, the first attorney in my family.
Oh, wow.
And there's adversity there as well. If you want the honest truth, anything that you do is going to be incredibly difficult. And there's going to be rejection everywhere, whether it's from your father, whether it's from the church, whether it's from people who are supposed to be there to help you. There's going to be adversity, and the greater your calling, the worse the adversity will be.
Mm,
So you have to find that passion, and you have to find your purpose, um, and keep that in your mind as you're going through the adversity. And you have to remember that the storms don't last forever. Like something that seems like the end of the world to you right now, you won't even remember it 3, 4, 5 years from now. You know, when I was in college, well, in my junior year of school, um, of high school, me and my mom were basically homeless. We were squatting in an abandoned house. Um, and we squatted in that house from my junior year of high school until the day that I graduated from college. The day that I graduated from college was the day when we moved into our own home. And from the outside, nobody would have known. No one at church knew. No one at school knew. I didn't tell anybody. Um, and that experience was difficult, but I see why I needed to have it, because going into the law, you have to be able to relate to people. And in order to be able to function in that experience, I had to develop discipline. You know, I would wake up early in the morning, wash up with a pan of water, go to school, stay at school all day in the library and do my homework, go to the gym so I could take a shower, and then go home and lather, rinse, and repeat, you know. And
this is so good. Mm.
Mhm.
I had to make a lot of sacrifices. You know, I lost a lot of friends. Um, I had a lot of family members that didn't really understand what I was doing. You know, people saying that, you know, you work too hard, or, you know, this is something you can't do. When I was in college, I was originally appointed to be on a panel to talk about my experiences. And the president of my college pulled me aside and told me that, you know, I didn't look professional because of my hair. And that he took me off the panel, and that he would never hire me, and that no one else would ever hire me, and that no one would care about my story. Um, and, you know, that was difficult because I looked up to him. He was a person I considered a role model. And I realized that the point of that was because, just like with my father and just like with other teachers I've had, and he was there as an assignment to break me and stop me from pursuing my destiny. Um, but then I realized that there's nothing that he could do to stop me from
True.
who I'm called to be. And less than a year later, I was on the magazine of the Maryland Law School, on the front page with my red hair and all, as a rising coming scholar in the history of the state of Maryland. Um, so when life and when the enemy and when people around you tell you that you can't, you can't listen to them. You have to go and find, first of all, find a hobby that you enjoy, that you can just immerse yourself in. I know for me, it was playing music. I was very shy until I got into music, and doing that helped me branch out. But you also have to find people that are doing what you want to do and surround yourself with people that are greater than you, um, and take yourself away from the negativity, because you're only the sum of who you're around.
Yes, yes.
And I know it's difficult because you'll have friends that, you've known 10, 15 years, and you might have to cut them off. I have a friend that I knew for decades, and I couldn't talk to him anymore because once I started to progress,
Hmm.
he didn't want to he wanted to do the same things that he's been doing. And there's nothing wrong with him, but you have to surround yourself with people who are going where you're going.
That's
And
true.
you have to find a way to be encouraged and to build yourself up, because in order to do what you're called to do, you're going to have enough faith to see the world differently from how it looks. Faith is a manifestation of the things that are unseen. And, you know, you it's very difficult because if you look around you, it seems like there's no hope, right? It seems like everything is a certain way and that's just the way it's going to be. And my family was this way, so that's how I have to be. But that's not true.
Right,
You,
right.
it takes more work and it takes more effort, but you have to have the faith to keep pushing even when you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, because it's there.
Oh, that's good. I tell you, I know you're absolutely right. It is good, but I'm telling you, I can listen to you because you're really an old soul. You're young. What's that?
You
Old
are.
soul. Hmm. But I want any parents that are watching, young people that are watching, take these words of wisdom from this young man. I asked him how old he was, or shall I say how young he was. He said he's 22, going on 23 just in a few weeks. And what date is your birthday?
27th of January.
The 27th. He'll be 23 going on what, 30? But it's good. It's been good. It's been really good. I tell you what, Randall, I really wish you well, and know that you have so many people praying for you. There are
Yeah.
so many that are in your corner, and you sound like your grandma, um, Phyllis Burgess. Yes, this is shout out to Mother Phyllis Burgess and his mom Annette Burgess. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to have such good people in your family. You come from good stock, so we know that, and we are very grateful to God for what you've already accomplished in your life, and we're just grateful. Takira, did you have anything to share?
I did want to say one, I didn't know any of these things about you. You're such an incredible young man. You're so quiet usually when I've seen you before, but you do have a lot to offer. So I'm very glad to have had you on this broadcast today. And I just want to um, give you some encouragement and motivation just to keep on doing what you're doing, because it's I always say, it's of course it's great to help people, but the things that you don't see, those are the things that count the most. And that's how you really affect people. So you helping those young men, you helping young men today, or young or old, with your story and what you've been going through and how you overcome it and how you're overcoming it now is really inspirational. I did want to point out just to repeat one of your points that you said about how it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. Because as we know, like hurt people, and you can't control like your situation of where you've come from, but you can control where you're going. So one thing I'm really proud that you've done is you've taken those circumstances that weren't favorable to you, and you said, this is not going to be my life. I'm going to keep going no matter what you say about me. I know who I am. So I just want to motivate everyone out there listening to do exactly what Randall has done. Like look inside yourself and realize, who you are, despite how it may look or what your situation is. It's not going to be forever. And it's your responsibility to help take control of your life and not stay in the past of where you've been or where you've come from, because things will get better. And I'm just so happy to have you today. Very encouraging. I definitely didn't know you were in law school. That's amazing. So that's really good.
All right. Yes. Thank you again for joining us. As you see, those that are on Facebook, I tell you, I don't know what's going on with my computer, but you better believe I am going to check it out. We will definitely upload the Zoom so that you can see it from the very beginning, and you won't see my hand moving all over the place. Look, this is one of those, I am determined to do this every day. I can't shut down because technology doesn't work. But let me tell you, we will do this some way, somehow. So just accept my apologies for not having the professional look to this. But I see your comments, and we're going to upload the actual Zoom recording so that you can see everything. And most of all, that you see that right there? I'm shaking. You won't see that. Anyway, thank you so much, Randall. I appreciate you. I thank you for your contribution and supporting this platform, Project 365. So we're going to close out with Takira.
Well, you guys just have to come back tomorrow to see who we're going to have. That's what she wants to say.
That's what I want to say. All right. Be blessed, and we'll speak with you soon. Bye-bye.
And I grew to resent my father. At one point, I was damaged mentally and emotionally because I couldn't be in a conversation where people talked about fathers and fatherhood without getting upset.